Hello, my chickadees. Hello, hello, hello. I kind of unplugged my mic there for a second. We're going to get started in just a minute. I am making sure I get the chat pulled up. How was everybody's weekend? Mine was very busy. But I was very happy to see that everybody the majority vote was for Submissive Emperor. That makes me so happy. Alright, do. Alright, I'm just getting chat pulled up here. Hi, Peridot. Hello. Thank you for popping in. Heck yeah. Thank you for choosing to share it with me. Alright, I'll hurry in here. There we go. Pop out chat. There we go. I think we're all ready now. Alright, let's see. There we go. Alright. We are starting with chapter 9 today. The Submissive Emperor, avoiding suspicion. Ooh. Is he going to be able to do that? What happened? No sound. Hang on. Bub. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me? There we go. All good. Okay. You worried me there for a second. Alright. Guess the mic was acting up. The Submissive Emperor, Chapter 9, Avoiding Suspicion. I thought it was early, but I see that my fourth brother has beat me to it, the third prince, Zhao Qingdul, said, smiling at the fourth prince, who was still clutching the big red packet in his hands. He emphasized the words I and but in a higher tone. Which made him sound rather unfriendly, even though it may have been unintentional. The fourth prince shoved the red packet into his sleeves and bowed formally to the third prince. The cheerful smile on his face had faded and he didn't say anything. The third prince had always found the fourth prince to be rather introverted, so he didn't take this to heart. He turned to look at the crown prince sitting on the main seat. Greetings to my elder brother, the crown prince. This must be my new, Xiao? He said, looking. Xiao is like, Oh, we covered this last time and I already forgot. So you have to go back and look at the previous one. No, I'm joking. It's kind of like, relative, like sister-in-law. He said, looking appraisingly at Lo Jing, who was standing next to the crown prince. His smile froze immediately. Lo Jing's usual preference was to wear clothes in neutral colors, but during the period immediately following the wedding, it was more appropriate to wear bright, auspicious colors. As such, he was presently dressed in a gleaming royal blue outer robe fastened with silver silk at the waist, and a silver guan set with sapphires in his hair. He didn't wear any other accessories apart from the guan. The lack of embellishment actually enhanced Lo Jing's naturally exquisite looks, drawing attention to his incredibly handsome face. He's a pretty boy. Alright. I heard that the Ongogong's Shizi was a famous beauty in the capital, and it is indeed true, the third prince said. He couldn't stop staring at Lao Jing, and only managed to collect himself after a few moments. His strange habit of speaking in high-pitched tone every few words made it sound like he was making fun of Lao Jing. Pretty boy, yes. The crown prince caught himself a good one. Zhao Qinzhong, that's the crown prince. His face darkened just as he was about to reprimand his brother. His consort spoke up. The third prince is too kind. That was just flattery, not to be taken seriously, Lo Jing said, one side of his mouth twitching upwards. On the other hand, your infamous good looks were much talked about even in the northwestern front when I was stationed there. What Lao Jing was saying was that his good looks were just idle gossip among the people of the capital, but the third prince's looks were known even in the far-flung northern western front. Ha ha! Exactly! The last time the Tartar king came to offer tribute, he thought the third prince was a princess and wanted to marry him, the fourth prince said, guffawing loudly. He was amused by how Lo Jing had turned the tables on the third prince, and was only too glad to support what his Xiao Xiao said. Xiao Qin took after his mother, Qin Gufei. Oh, that's the jerky one. That's the idiot. That's the lady that has the emperor wrapped around her little finger, and so he's like ignoring his empress and just that consort. The lady we hate. I don't know shit about Chinese culture, so this will be fun. It is fun. We're learning. These streams are both scratching that BL itch and teaching us. Perfect warm tea. He had the same large slanting eyes that his mother had, which were charming on a woman's face, but looked oddly effeminate on a man's. The crown prince's lips had originally turned downward before Lo Jing spoke, and on hearing what Lo Jing said, pressed into a straight line before involuntarily curving upwards just a fraction. This consort of his was really good at making sure he didn't suffer any losses. Xiao Xiao is too kind, the third prince said, embarrassed. He glared at the fourth prince out of the corner of his eye. The latter was still chuckling happily to himself at the side of the room. That nasty mouth of his would never say a good word for him. Let's see. Pwahaha. The Chinese idiom for this is what a dog's mouth can say, or this is that a dog's mouth can never spit out ivory. I am so amused by this saying. Lo Jing's words are now taking on a completely new complexion thanks to what the fourth prince has said. The Zhao imperial family did not have many descendants in this generation. The previous royal, the Ruzong emperor, did not have many children, and many of them did not survive him. The Ruzong emperor himself lived a long life, so when he passed away there was only two candidates for succession, the current Chond emperor and a prince who was in ill health. The sickly prince had since passed away a few years ago. Even so, the Eastern Palace was still bustling with guests that afternoon. So the current emperor has no siblings. But he has at least 4 kids, Because we have the crown prince, and then the third and fourth prince are here talking. So at least 3 kids, but that one's labeled 4, so there's 4. I don't remember what happened before. All the imperial relatives came to pay a visit. The eldest princess, various lords of peerage, the empress's dowager relatives. The list just went on. Lo Jing was familiar with most of the nobility in the capital, so making conversation with them wasn't really an issue for him. His problem was the wounds on his legs. Without any painkillers, his thighs started twinging painfully after standing for some time. And then, when everyone had finally left, it was time to greet the Empress. As Chingon, I'm gonna have to look it up again. Xiao Shenjun helped his consort up the palanquin. He noticed that Lo Jing's face looked pale and wan again. "Are you tired?" he asked, unable to hide his concern. Lo Jing shook his head. He had a strong constitution and could chase enemies on the battlefront for 800 yen with ease. My legs hurt a little, that's all. The crown prince frowned. Why did the Ongugong want Lo Jing to marry into the Eastern Palace at all cost? The Lao family was part of the high Zhengying accuracy. Okay, brain just went blank. Acrisosity. I know that word, I just can't say it today. Okay, well, that's the word I can't say for the day. And even if he didn't marry into the imperial family, with Lo Jing's outstanding abilities, they would have easily been able to maintain favor with the emperor. As he was thinking this, Lo Jing's head slowly slided over and rested on his shoulder. It's painful to sit up. Let me rest on you for a bit, Lo Jing said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. He then let his body press into Zhao Qinjun's as well. He's like, "Husband, let me rest on you." The crown prince looked around. The palace roads were empty, and the palanquin bearers couldn't see what was going on in the palanquin, so he didn't object. Lo Jing's body was warm and had a refreshing herbal scent that reminded of him being in the quiet forest. It was actually quite pleasant to have Lo Jing lie on him like this. Fingyi Palace was cold and quiet as usual. It was staffed by many servants, but they each went about their task quietly, so there was no idle chatter to be heard. You must both be tired from after today's exertion, the male empress, Jizhou. The crown prince couldn't help glancing at him suspiciously out of the corner of his eye. I don't have much to do in the palace, so do come and chat with me when you have time, Ji Zhao said. His piercing eagle eyes softened a little. You trained in martial arts with the old Ungu Gong since you were little, right? Which weapons did you train in? Lo Jing was about to reply when Zhao Qinzhong elbowed him. He swallowed the words that he was about to say and let Zhao Qinggong speak instead. Father Empress, the Crown Prince consort has not been well recently. When he's better, he'll come and have a few friendly duels with you. It went mute again. Why did it go mute again? Hello, can you hear me? It's saying I got audio. Ba 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 ba. I don't know if maybe it's on your end, but it's saying there's audio going on. Can you hear me? My little chickadee, can you hear me? Let's see. Hello? Well, I guess it didn't want to go mute. Well, that's weird. Oh, hang on. I think the audio's back. Yeah, I can hear it. I had to switch platforms because my computer is also being a butt. Okay. Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, so maybe it was just Twitch acting up. It's working on mine, and... Okay, there we go. Hello! Okay. Crisis averted. Alright. Where were we? Yeah, he was just like, listen, you're hurt. Remember, you're hurt. You can't do jack squat right now. Yeah, they didn't even consummate the marriage yet, by the way. Everybody thinks they did, but they haven't. That was hilarious. Yay, we're back. Okay, Father Empress, the Crown Prince consort has not been well recently. When he's better, he'll come and have a few friendly duels with you, Xiao Qinggun said. Lo Jing raised his brows. The Empress had only asked what he'd been trained in, and didn't mention that he wanted to have a friendly duel today. Xiao Qinggun's real intention in saying this was to highlight to the Empress that he'd been unwell recently. Roundabout way of drawing attention to it. The Empress couldn't help laughing as he looked at the anxious Crown Prince. I was just about to say that he doesn't need to come and greet me tomorrow morning, but you clearly couldn't wait for me to get to that on my own. He looked at Lo Jing's pale, pinched face. Even though he allowed the couple to sit in a cushioned chair, Lo Jing still looked to be in great discomfort. Greeting the Empress in the morning was an important protocol, and this requirement usually could not be waived without strong reasons. In the first few days after marriage, however, the Empress had the discretion to do so as an act of mercy to the new consort. So, he's thinking he's in pain because they, had fun in the bedroom. He's like, oh, he's sitting on a cushion and he's still uncomfortable. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, miscommunication going on here. Misunderstanding. Oh. Thank you. Thank you, Father Empress, Lo Jing said, hurriedly standing up to thank him. Not having to wake up early the next morning was a real blessing. You're excused from attending the Imperial Court session these few days, but don't slack off, the Empress said, addressing Xiao Qingzhong. His expression became reserved once more, and he spoke cautionary tones. Also, the two of you are still young. Don't overindulge in the pleasures of the flesh. It will damage your body. It's like, don't overdo it, guys. Okay? I know it's fun and you got energy, but don't overdo it. Yes, I understand, Zhao Xinjung said, rising to acknowledge the Empress' words respectfully. Zhou Jing nearly choked on his own saliva. Clearly, the Empress felt that he could just be straightforward with them since they were all men. He stole a glance at the Crown Prince. His expression was calm and stoic, but the tips of his ears had turned a faint shade of pink. On the way back, Lo Jing couldn't help looking surreptitiously at Zhao Qingjun's ears. He felt like he had just been let in on a huge secret. If Father Empress asks you to have a friendly duel with him, don't push yourself too hard, he said earnestly. He didn't realize that his consort was stealing furtive looks at him, and continued to conscientiously highlight things that Lo Jing should be careful about in the palace. Mm, Lo Jing acknowledged. He had originally wanted to ask the Empress why he had insisted that he be the Crown Prince's consort, but decided against it at the last moment. Asking a question like this out of the blue seemed rather inappropriate, and he thought that perhaps he would ask this when making small talk during a friendly duel. You know, I also wanted to ask why there aren't any palace maids in the Finyan Palace, Lo Jing said. There are usually more palace maids than eunuchs in the Hyonggong, but he'd only seen a grand total of 2 palace maids in the Finyan Palace. Father Empress is a man, so he has to avoid suspicion. He has to avoid being seen associating with women as far as possible, Xiao Chenjong said. This brought to mind his unfinished conversation with Lo Jing earlier that afternoon. Were the 2 palace maids who came with you also your personal attendants when you were little? Zhonja and Yingqiu. I'm gonna have to make a guide and because I've already forgotten how to pronounce everything. Lo Jing turned to look at the Crown Prince's face. Was he indirectly warning him that he had to avoid suspicion as well? No, they were originally my mother's servants and only started waiting on me after my mother passed away. Oh, so they were his mother's maids. Zhao Qinzhong felt relieved for some reason. Lo Jing's mother's maids could not be given to him as concubines, so the 2 certainly did not have any romantic entanglements with Lo Jing. There are many unfriendly eyes in the palace. As far as possible, try to use the eunuchs when you need something done, Zhao Qinzhong said. It was my oversight, Lo Jing said, smiling despite himself. It was patently clear to him now why Zhao Qinzhong had been annoyed earlier that afternoon. He must have been displeased that he had let Zhonjia check on his wounds. Zhao Qinzhong looked at Lo Jing out of the corner of his eyes and caught him smiling to himself. At that, his expression immediately darkened a little. Jianxia, don't be angry, Lo Jing said, seeing Zhao Qinzhong's face darkening, fast darkening expression. He quickly sat up straight. I was 11 when I went to the Northwest Front with my grandfather, and there were no women there. I only returned when my grandfather passed away, and I could not possibly have disrespected his memory by fooling around during his mourning period. I swear to the heavens above, Christian is still, Chase. Let's see. Kishin is another way concubines, consorts refer to themselves. It means I. This is the first time Lo Jing has referred to himself as Kyoshin. So, Ki? That's a Q. Kishin? So it is significant and funny all at the same time. It indicates that he is taking his role as consort seriously. Lao Jing previously always referred to himself as Qin, indicating his status as an official in the imperial court. So he's officially like, yep, this consort is, completely innocent. I haven't fooled around with nobody, I promise. I am all yours. After the crown prince's consort made this declaration, the palanquin beneath them wobbled a little. You... Xiao Qinzhong was first dumbstruck, then couldn't help but laugh out loud. Xiao Qinzhong was good looking to begin with, and when he laughed, he seemed like the sun had come out from behind the clouds. Luo Jing was transfixed by the sight, and forgot what he was about to say next. He told himself that he had to make the crown prince laugh more in the future. Back in the eastern palace, Xiao Qinzhong followed Luo Jing back to the Bafeng Hall as usual. The crown prince had his own sleeping quarters, Chongrin Hall. But for the first half month after marriage, he was expected to sleep in his consort's bedchambers. Dianxia, Lord Kai requests to speak with you urgently, Ashen said, hurrying up the moment the palanquin set down. Achen is one of their, eunuchs serving them. Zhao Qinyong frowned, then turned to Luo Jing. You can head inside to rest first, he said. Luo Jing nodded, rising to move towards his sleeping quarters. The palanquin bearing Zhao Qinzhong was lifted up again, and the barrier started to move in the direction of Chongwen Chambers. Jiangxia! Kai Yi rushed up immediately upon seeing Zhao Qinzhong. The Imperial censor, Yingzhou has been imprisoned. What? Zhao Qinzhong was shocked. The Imperial censor, who had been used by the other ministers to test the waters, had been thrown in prison? What did the old age rule that the outspoken ministers were not to be punished? Oh, was that the guy that, raised us, was, like, objecting to, a eunuch performing the ceremony the other day, because that was, like, against the rules. He wasn't supposed to do that, and the emperor just, like, ignored him, and he got in trouble. Yup. Alright, that was the end of a chapter. I'm gonna see if we can get at least 3 chapters in today. Because I think we've been pretty good at getting about 3 in. There we go. They do change the passwords frequently, so yeah. That one might not work in the future, so. The Submissive Emperor, Chapter 10, Persuasion. This morning, this morning, Yingzhou was not released after being called away. It seemed that the Emperor sent someone to ask if he recognized the error of his ways. After that, no one knows exactly what happened, but he was thrown into the Imperial prison, Kai Yi said. He wiped the sweat beading on his forehead, looking more anxious than a mother who lost her child. The Imperial prison was a place where one could be detained without trial or even investigation. It was out of the jurisdiction of the Dali court and the Ministry of Justice. The Dali Si directly translates into the Temple of Great Reasoning, and is basically the ancient equivalent of the Supreme Court. I've translated this as the Dahlia Court instead of a temple, because the imagery of a temple invokes is a pretty different. Yeah, it does make more sense being Dali, oh, Owlgirl plushie. No thanks. Yeah, calling it the court really makes it seem more like, justice, whatever. But dang, the Emperor is just doing whatever the freak he wants. He doesn't care anymore about anything that he's supposed to. Zhao Qinzhong sat down at his desk. Did anyone send in submissions to plead for him? He asked. Many people has handed in submissions pleading for clemency, but the Emperor completely refuses to look at them. He just cast them aside, Kai said, pacing around anxiously. The palace is already locked. The minister of the left wanted to plead with the emperor on Lord Ging's, Gang, Ging, Ging, Gingning's behalf, but even then he was refused entry. He don't give a flying flip. The imperial prison was presently under the control of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which was staffed entirely by eunuchs. Oh, that's why. This morning, Gingzhou had offended the most powerful eunuch, Xin Lian. There were no way he would be treated well in the imperial prison. However, if something untoward were to happen to Gingzhou now, the rest of the ministers would be outraged. Outspoken officials had always been seen as crucial to ensuring that the emperor made well-informed decisions, and even the fiery tempered Tazul emperor had never laid a finger on such officials. The consequences would be dire if the current emperor allowed Gingzhou to be harmed as a result of his actions this morning. Yeah, he was just being like, speaking his opinion and everything, because he was against the emperor, breaking all the traditions. And according to the rules, he's not supposed to be punished for being outspoken like that. So, yeah. That's not good. Xiao Qinzhong was silent for a moment. Then he exhaled slowly and stood up. "I will go and see my father emperor," he said. As the heir apparent to the throne, he had a duty to try to persuade the emperor to do what was right. "There's no one more appropriate to plead with the emperor," Kai agreed. He had calmed down by this time. "However, the emperor is still in a rage. You also need to be careful." Note that what Kai actually said was "don't tire yourself out," but it is actually a warning not to try too hard to change the emperor's mind if he's really stubborn. Yeah, it might backfire. When people are very, very set in their ways and stubborn about something, it'll turn around and bite you in the butt. Yeah, I could see it's been a while since I read this, so I don't remember what happened, so I'm not foreshadowing anything. But I can see if the crown prince pushed too hard, the emperor would find a way to punish him for it, just out of spite. Ooh, someone's abusing power. He is. He really is. Zhao Qinzhong exchanged a long look with the minister of the crown prince's affairs, then nodded slowly. Kai had an impatient, ancient nature, but his assessment of the ins and outs of a situation were usually unerringly accurate. He could indeed not push the issue with the emperor too hard, or the emperor might suspect that he had hidden motives. Reporting to the crown prince consort, "The crown prince has said that you can start eating dinner first. There's no need to wait for him," Cheng Yi said. He motioned to the servants to place the food in the outer chamber of the Bafing Hall. Okay, so, he was just like, "Okay, I'm probably not going to be back anytime soon. You go ahead and eat." Yeah. Yeah, what the emperor did, it was like tradition for the emperor to like spend the night at the empress's palace on the night of the wedding or whatever, and he didn't. He freaking didn't. He spent the night with his favorite concubine instead. So that was a big spit in the face of tradition. Because the empress is male for tradition as well, because it's supposed to stop a lot of the drama going on and vying for power. But yeah, I hate this emperor. Understood. Lao Jing waved his hands to dismiss him, then clambered out of bed and seated himself in front of the food. He picked up his rice bowl, thinking about how the crown prince had solicitously offered him a spoon earlier that day. He felt dissatisfied at the thought of eating without him. Aww. I've been married to this man for like 2 days and I'm already don't want to eat without him. That's like adorable. Portable steam sauna. Alrighty, that's weird. Jianxiang's palanquin has left the Eastern Palace. I heard that he has gone to seek an audience with the Emperor, Lei Jian said quietly, serving Lu Jing some food. Lu Jing glanced at the amiable Li Zan, thinking that his young eunuch was not just pleasant to look at, but to also quite clever and intuitive. Tell the kitchen to keep the porridge warm so that it will still be nice when the crown prince returns. Certainly, Lei Ziang acknowledged Lo Jing's instruction happily. This indicated that Lo Jing was prepared to use him, and if he continued to perform well, he'd be able to be made deputy head eunuch of the Eastern Palace when Lo Jing started managing the Eastern Palace's affair. Yeah, Li Jing is just like a little boy. He's like 13 from what I remember. 13, 16, something like that. He was given to him. Zhao Chenjong went to the emperor's sleeping quarters. Panlong Hall, where he was informed that the Chong emperor had gone to Lanyi Palace. The emperor had gone to the Honggon so early? The crown prince frowned. As a prince, he was allowed to enter the Honggon, but the thought of having to try and persuade the emperor in front of Qing Gufi was extremely off-putting. Whatever he said, Qing Gufi was sure to sing a different tune, and there was certainly no chance of success as long as she was present. Yeah. Oh, man. So, it's like early in the freaking day, and he's already in the Hongyong, which is basically the, like, if I remember right, I think that's the concubine house. So yeah, this freaking concubine is like a snake, and she has like the emperor's wrapped around her finger, so she's getting whatever she wants, and she shouldn't have that much power. He's slowly taking some of like the power away from the empress and giving it to this biatch. She is really horrible. Go to the Laoying palace and inform my father emperor that I have an urgent matter to discuss, he instructed at Anshan. Xiao Chenjong then asked the palanquin bearers to carry him to the emperor's study. He thought it more appropriate to discuss matters of the state in the emperor's office. It is. That does sound more appropriate than walking in and seeing your dad all getting snuggled up by a witch. The emperor's study wasn't far from the Palang Hall. The servants had already lit the candles, and it was bright inside Palang Hall, even though nobody was there. Xiao Chenjong walked in, looked at the submissions piled haphazardly on the emperor's table, and gave a small sigh. So he's neglecting his duties, too. He's neglecting it and also ignoring all the, like, submissions to, like, help the guy that got thrown in prison. A hanging scroll inscribed with the Ruzong Emperor's motto hung behind the carved dragon seat. Steadfast in governance, faithful to reason. The previous emperor was a kind and honorable man. In the 40 years of his rule, he had never once used the imperial prison. There had never been anyone convicted or punished without a fair trial. However, in the mere 10 years that the Chung Emperor had been in power, the number of imperial ministers that had died in the imperial prison could not be counted on two hands. Holy crap. Okay, you can tell how bad of a ruler this guy is. He's not even letting them have a trial. He's like, well, you pissed me off. Go die in prison. Well. Reporting to the crown prince, His Majesty instructs that he will hold the audience in Luoying Palace. The voice that spoke was warm and friendly. It was the emperor's personal eunuch, Xiaozong. Oh, well, he has to go to her place. So this isn't gonna go well. Chao Chin-jung was standing with his hands behind his back when Hyozong arrived. He turned and looked at the smiling eunuch and sighed inwardly. His father emperor knew to send his senior eunuch to summon him to Loyang Palace instead of sending a small fry over. There was no way to reject this summons. As he thought this, he felt some disappointment in his heart. "Let's go then," he said curtly, walking out of the study without waiting for the eunuch to invite him out. Laonyi Palace had just been renovated in spring and presented a magnificent sight, even from a distance. It looked even more luxurious than the Emperor's palace. Yeah, you see who he's doting on? The Chung Emperor met the Crown Prince in the main hall of the Finyi Palace. "What did you want to see me for?" he asked. He had clearly just eaten his dinner. A palace maid served him a cup of hot tea, the sort that was usually drunk after dinner. "Father Emperor, Urchin heard that the Emperor censor Gingzhou." Zhao Qinzhong didn't get to finish his sentence before being interrupted by the Emperor's cold grunt of disapproval. Urchin is how the imperial sons who are of age refer to themselves in front of their father emperor. Means son, and Qin means minister. Imperial princes who are of age usually are involved in affairs of state, which make them imperial court officials. He was impertinent to Xin. Surely I'm within my rights to punish a mere third-ranked minister for this. The Chun Emperor had apparently read the contents of the submissions in his study. "Father Emperor," Zhao Qinzhong sighed deeply. He tried his best to keep his tone warm and friendly. "The Imperial Censor is a minister in your court, and Father Emperor is certainly within his rights to discipline one of the ministers. But there is an age-old rule that prohibits the punishment of outspoken ministers. I would suggest that you do not be overly concerned by Genzou's words." "I am not overly concerned," the Chung Emperor said, setting his teacup down with some force. "If he would just say that he sees the error of his ways, I'll be happy to let this go. If he refuses to admit his mistakes, then is he expecting me to say I was wrong?" Okay, who's saying this? Okay. In the third year of his reign, the Taizhou Emperor was engaging in philanthropous activities at night, and then Imperial Censor Zhang Zhu forced his way into the palace to scold the Emperor for an hour. The naked Emperor listened to his lecture for an hour, then praised him and rewarded him with 10 bolts of brocade. The Taizhou Emperor said, "Fear not the Imperial Censor, fear the history books." Zhao Qinzhong said, speaking in his usual level tone. "Father Emperor, the Imperial Censor may not be correct, but if you punish him, history will not remember this deed kindly. The Imperial Censor's death may be nothing, but his death may destroy your good name. I ask Father Emperor not to miss the woods for the trees." See, he's trying to speak reason. He's trying to get his idiot father to understand. After the Crown Prince said this long speech, he did not kneel to beg the Emperor to rethink his decision. He continued to stand, his waist bent in a slight bow as if he was only given a suggestion. He's smart. He's a smart boy. The Chung Emperor was silent for a long time. "Fine. Jin will release Genzhou tomorrow." "Father Emperor is most wise." Xiao Xinzhou now knelt and kowtowed to the Chonggon Emperor. He did it! He convinced him! It's pretty sad that the prince has more, wisdom in these matters than the frickin' Emperor does. Zhou Jing had waited 4 hours for the Crown Prince to return, but there was still no sign of the latter. He rolled around in bed, bored to tears, Suddenly he caught sight of a small cupboard built into the wall next to the bed. This was where Zhao Qinzhong had pulled out the bomb yesterday night. What else was in it? The tiny cupboard had 9 compartments, but only 3 of the compartments had a small cupboard door. Each of these doors were painted red and decorated with flower carvings. The open compartments held small jade statues carved in symbols that warded off evil. The statues were all permanently affixed to the cupboard shelf so they would not accidentally fall off and hit someone sleeping on the bed. That was very smart. I know if I was in there, I would roll around and hit it, and every one of them would fall down and whack me in the head. But he's just rolling around, totally bored. And then he finds the cupboard. Okay. This was more or less Lo Jing's house, so he could poke around in it at will. He set up and opened one of the small cupboard doors excitedly. There was a number of little black boxes with plum blossom carvings containing the special balm. Lo Jing picked one up and toyed with it. This ointment was really very effective. He would definitely bring some with him next time he went to fight a war. That ointment was was commissioned by the prince because he knew that Lo Jing had been beaten by his father and he was injured. But because he commissioned it right before a wedding, the people who made it was like, oh, he wants to make sure that everything goes smoothly when they consummate the marriage and he doesn't tear anything. So it's actually meant for that. It's a very good healing balm though. So they're just like, okay, let's put it on all these back wounds you got. Putting down the little box, he opened another cupboard door. It looked like there was nothing inside, but Lo Jing stuck a hand in to feel around nonetheless, and discovered that there was a book inside. This compartment was bigger than it looked. The actual base of the compartment was lower than what it appeared to be from the outside, and the book was concealed in the sunken part of the base. Lo Jing found this to be odd. Who stored books in this kind of compartment? He pulled the book out. It was bound in a blue-colored leather and had the words Palace of the Sun written on it in flowery lettering. Sun or Yang is associated with manhood. Lo Jing didn't know what the Palace of the Sun meant and flipped the book open. His eyes immediately widened into round saucers. This wasn't an accounts book or a secret book of records, but a pictorial book, and the pictures depicted 2 men intertwined together in a tight embrace. He found an instruction book. Right at this moment, the door creaked open. The Crown Prince was back. Lo Jing closed the book casually, put it back into the secret compartment, and closed the cupboard door. Oh, of course he finds the freaking Karma Sutra in there. Why aren't you asleep? Zhao Chung asked. The moon was already high in the sky, and he had assumed that Lo Jing would be sound asleep by now. He had actually thought of returning to Chongring Hall, in fact, but he eventually decided against it because he thought it would look bad for Lo Jing if they slept apart when it was only the second night after their wedding. He had somewhat surprised that Lo Jing was still wide awake and waiting for him. Reporting to the Crown Prince consort, the porch has been warmed up. Before Lao Jing could respond to Xiao Qinzhong, Li Xian's voice floated in from beyond the doorway. Lo Jing smiled. This little eunuch really knew how to do things. Send it in, he said. Li Xian brought in a bowl of hot red date porridge and a plate of ingredients. He set this down on the small table in the bedchamber, then bowed and left. How did you know I hadn't eaten? Xiao Qinzhong asked, looking at the food on the table, warmth blossoming in his heart. Dianxia left so hurriedly. I guess you wouldn't have eaten. Lo Jing said, smiling as he got off the bed. He moved to help the crown prince remove the silver guan in his hair. Why don't you take a bath first? He is being such a good husband, isn't he? After Xiao Qinzhong had bathed, the hot porridge has cooled down to just the right temperature. Porridge was the best option at this late hour. Eating too much before sleeping would cause indigestion, but not eating was also not ideal. Xiao Qinzhong would definitely be hungry in the middle of the night if he didn't eat at all. The warm little bowl of porridge also warmed Xiao Qinzhong's frosty mood considerably. Aww. Aww. That's so sweet. He waited up for him and he made sure that the porridge was kept warm because he's like, he'll be hungry. He'll be hungry. We gotta make sure he has food. He'd be very hungry. We're going back to your maiden home to pay respects to your family tomorrow. You should have slept earlier today, the crown prince said, climbing onto the bed. He felt sorry for Lo Jing, who still looked pale and wan. Well, I was waiting for you to help me apply medicine to my wounds. Lo Jing smiled playfully, then thrust a little black box into Xiao Qinzhong's hands. Looking at the box, Xiao Qinzhong felt a little awkward. You still want me to use this medicine? He asked. Write that down. Write that down. Yeah, that's very good. You still want me to use this medicine? He asked. Lo Jing laughed, then undressed and lay chest down on the bed. I've never seen a medicine that works better than this. If it works, why would I care what its original purpose was? Xiao Qinzhong hesitated for a moment, but opened the lid in the end. The medicine really did seem to be very good at healing Lo Jing's wounds, and using it also wouldn't arouse anyone's suspicions, which would save them quite a bit of trouble. He dipped his fingers into the ointment and applied them to Lo Jing's back, which was still black and blue, but looked much better than it had yesterday. It looked like he would probably make a full recovery in a few days' time. They had a busy day ahead, returning to Lo Jing's maiden home, so after applying the ointment, Xiao Qinzhong washed his hands and blew out the candles, after which they both went to bed. The wounds on Lo Jing's back meant that he had to sleep on his chest, and he'd been sleeping that way for half a month now. His neck ached from the awkward sleeping position, and he really didn't want to sleep chest down anymore. He tried sleeping on his side instead, and when he turned, he saw that the crown prince's eyes were still wide open, staring at the ceiling. Xiao Qinzhong was still worrying about Genzhou. Who knew what would happen to Genzhou over the course of the night? But he had already done all that he could. Can't sleep? Lo Jing asked from his sideways position. He supported his head with his hand and looked at him. Don't worry. My parents won't make things difficult for you. You're my husband. Yeah, it's your husband. You're the girl in the situation. He was calling the crown prince his wife. And he had to correct himself after all. And you're the crown prince. They still have to kowtow to you. In fact, Lo Jing had nearly referred to Xiao Qinzhong as his wife. But given that the crown prince was such a proper person, he might have been offended if Lo Jing said that. He decided to behave himself. The crown prince didn't seem to be in a joking mood today. Xiao Qinzhong turned to look at him. Why did your father beat you? He asked. Jianxia, why are you asking this now? Do you also want to punish me? Lo Jing crept a little closer to Xiao Qinzhong. Alright, we got spam in chats. Alright. Spam gets banned. There we go. Sorry, I need to get rid of that. Okay. Where were we? Lord Jing crept a little closer to Xiao Qinzhong, the better to let him see the mock fear in his eyes. The whole reason Lao Jianyu had hit him was precisely because he didn't want to marry Xiao Qinzhong. He's like, I got beat because I said I didn't want to marry you, so, should I actually tell him that? No, that was not my intention, Xiao Qinzhong said helplessly. I'm just curious as to why the Angugong would agree to your marriage to me. Actually, if he had said no, Father Emperor would also have just gone along with it and selected someone else. The smile on Lo Jing's face froze. The author has something to say. Mini theater. Crown Prince, why did your dad want to marry you off to me? Jiao Jing, it gives him pleasure. And he's like, big eyes. Then why didn't you object? Because it would give me pleasure. Oh my god. look at those faces. That's pretty good. Alright. Yay! We're on chapter 11 already! Returning home. We're doing really good. We did 2 chapters in an hour. Man, his jerky father and his mother-in-law, like, they can't do squat in front of the Crown Prince, though. He outranks them. So, oh, I hope he makes them, like, eat crow. This is gonna be lovely. My tea's starting to get cold, so I'm starting to chug it. Okay. Xiao Qinzhong looked at Lo Jing and couldn't help sighing. The Chong Emperor was quite astute about some things. For example, he always had been accurate in spotting talent among his young officials. Last year, Lo Jing had demonstrated his outstanding skills at the autumn hunt, and the Emperor had unreservedly promoted him to be the deputy commander of the Yuling troops. That was also why the Emperor had not been particularly pleased with the Empress's choice of Lo Jing as the Crown Prince's consort. So he was a high-ranking military commander because of his skills, and then the Empress was like, nah, he needs to, marry my son. Chug, chug, chug. I'm chugging that tea. I have a theory, but... Wait, this is Lo Jing. I have a theory, but I don't have any evidence for it, Lo Jing said, dropping his arms and leaning back on the pillow. There was a chill in his voice. Perhaps we will know in a few days whether my theory is correct. If anyone was trying to use him in their schemes, he would certainly make them regret it 10 times over. Xiao Qinzhong heard the frost in his tone, and his mood sombered considerably. He couldn't help but feel frustrated. This was originally his problem to deal with, but it caused his consort to also be upset. Lo Jing's hand was resting on the pillow, and he slowly reached out to cover his hand with his. I will help you, he said. That warm, clean sensation of Xiao Qinzhong's hands thawed the chill in Lo Jing's heart, and Lo Jing grasped that hand within his. Chen will also help Diansa, he promised. That smooth, slender hand was like warm jade, and it enclosed Xiao Qian's hand. A bitter smile touched Xiao... They say the name so many times in a row. Why? Touched the Crown Prince's lips. His consort was not beloved by his own father, and he was in no better situation. When I try to persuade my father now, I can no longer speak my mind directly. I have to coax and cajole him like his sycophantic officials. Jiansun is also an official to the imperial court. So long as you're able to successfully persuade his majesty, it doesn't really matter how you do it. Lo Jing pulled that warm hand towards him a little. We must respect our fathers, but we cannot be foolishly filial. I firmly believed in this the moment my father had me flogged by his guards. His guards? Qiao Qinzhong frowned. So Lo Jing's wounds were caused by guards beating him. No wonder they had taken so long to heal. Lo Jing raised his head and saw the crown prince's furrowed brows. He extended a finger and gently tickled the crown prince's palms, changing his tone to a teasing one. So, tomorrow, when we return to my home, Jiangxia just needs to maintain a high and mighty expression. That way, I can bask in your reflected glory and make my dad kowtow to me. Yes, his freaking trash of a dad should have to bow to him now. That's gonna be lovely. You're terrible, Xion Qinjun said, unable to hold back his laughter. His mood improved considerably. Lo Jing continued to hold the crown prince's hand as he gave him a quick rundown of the people in the Engelgong family. I have 2 uncles and 1 aunt. They're all not born of my grandfather's legitimate wife. The aunt has married and lived in, Jinyang. As to the 2 uncles, they're still living in the Angu Gong's residence because they and my father haven't split my grandfather's estate yet. They're not officials, and they just help my father with, ad hoc tasks, he said in a warm, measured tone. Qiao Qinzhong, man, I almost said, Shin Shinzhou from, Scum Villain, oh no. Chen Zhong felt strangely comforted as he listened to Lao Jing's pleasant voice, explaining the many details of his family's circumstances. At some point, he closed his eyes and slipped into a deep sleep. Aw, he fell asleep listening to him, and they were holding hands. Aw. Sunlight streamed in through the windows the next morning, shining brightly on the brilliant red bed curtains. Lo Jing was half awake, feeling that his sleep had been particularly comfortable and restful. His neck didn't hurt anymore, and this must be thanks to the cushions supporting his body. Wait, the cushions supporting his body? Lo Jing came fully awake at once and opened his eyes carefully. The thing in his arm wasn't a cushion. It was Qiao Qinzhong, sleeping in the most prim and proper manner imaginable. Lo Jing had started off sleeping on his side, but at some point during the night had lost his balance and fallen over onto Qiao Qinzhong. Right now he was laying chest down on the crown prince. Apparently he's very comfy though. The crown prince's body was slender and warm, and was very comfortable to hug. For a moment, Lo Jing couldn't bear to let go. However, at the very same time, the soundly sleeping person below him let out a soft groan, and his thick eyelashes fluttered a little. Lo Jing shut his eyes immediately, pretending to still be deep in sleep. If the crown prince found out he knew fully well that he was sleeping on him but didn't move away, he would most definitely think he was being disrespectful. Qiao Qinzhong's eyebrows twitched in his sleep. He felt that something was pressing on his body, and he was a little uncomfortable. He opened his eyes. When he saw the position they were both in, his body stiffened at once. His consort was lying on him, sleeping sound as could be, and one of his consort's slender legs were right on top of his own. Qiao Qinzhong looked helplessly at Lo Jing, and his lips curved involuntarily into a faint smile. He then relaxed and turned his head slightly to face his consort. That exquisitely handsome face, beautiful like fine jade in clear spring water, was right in front of him. Okay, that went way off. He couldn't resist moving closer, using his lips to brush against that face ever so gently. Lo Jing felt a soft, warm object touch his cheek. His eyes were closed, and his sense of touch was heightened in the darkness. The images in the book that he saw the night before suddenly came to his mind, and his body started to burn with a strange heat. If he continued to pretend to be asleep, Something was definitely gonna happen. Lo Jing felt that he had no choice but to open his eyes. To his surprise, he found the crown prince pretending to be sound asleep. The corners of his lip twitched in amusement. Oh gosh, these two. Oh, Lo Jing wakes up first and he's like, wait, I'm sleeping on top of him? Um. And he's like, I'll pretend to be asleep. So he's pretending to be asleep, and then the prince wakes up and he's like, "Aw," and like, kiss him softly on his face, and then when Lo Jing opens his eyes, the prince is pretending to be asleep now. Like, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. You crazy. Little shy boys. After the couple got out of bed and washed up, they both pretended that nothing had happened earlier. Zhao Qinzhong was satisfied when he saw that Lo Jing had called Le- Lezian Lejean over to dress him, and only used the two palace maids to hold things for him and do his hair. Today was the third day after marriage, the appointed day for the bride to return to her maiden home with her new husband. In Chinese culture, brides visit their family with their new husband on the third day after marriage. The Eastern Palace guards sat on glossy stallions, clad with their ceremonial finery as they flanked the elaborately ornated carriage carrying the crown prince and the consort. They moved grandly as one towards the west of the capital. Things in the Imperial Court has been unstable recently, and I can't be seen to be too extravagant, the crown prince said apologetically to Lo Jing. When the crown prince consort returned home, his carriage should ordinarily have been escorted by the Yulin troops, and a band should have been accompanying them to play auspicious music. Lo Jing laughed out loud when he heard this. I'm a man. Do I really need to make a big show out of returning home? Zhao Qinzhong thought about it. True, from Lo Jing's standpoint, marrying him wasn't something to shout from the rooftops. If they returned to his home with pomp and circumstance, it might actually be embarrassing for him. He hadn't thought this through properly. He's like, nah, I'm good. I've never sat on a carriage pulled by 5 horses before, Lo Jing grinned, peeking out to look at the 5 gleaming chestnut stallions outside the carriage. These horses look to be of good stock. I also keep horses in Zhongqing Hall. I've got 4 there, and 2 of them were brought back from the Northwest Front. Do you want to have a look at them later? He's like, I got horses. Oh, you think he can bring his horses back to the palace with him? Sure, Zhao Jun said. He couldn't help smiling at Lo Jing's exuberance. He felt lucky that he had married a man. A female consort might have been miffed at the lack of extravagance in her entourage. Loteng Square was a huge complex of mansions, built by the Tazun Emperor for the nobility to stay after he founded this dynasty. It was situated to the west of the Imperial Palace, and all the founding families of the dynasty were presently living there. The Yangugon was the only Gyeonggong in the country, and was part of the Zangying nobility, so the estate he had was the largest in that complex. And then we have a translator note here. It says, Wahaha, ancient postcard envy anyone. Postcode envy anyone. The Engelgong and his entire extended family had been waiting at the main entrance for the crown prince and his consort's arrival since early morning. Though this crown prince didn't seem to be particularly outstanding, he was still a crown prince and had to be accorded the respect due to his position. The guards reined in the horses neatly, and the carriage came to a gradual halt right in front of the main entrance. Its apricot orange curtains fluttered in the breeze. The carriageman unhitched the horses from the carriage and led them away. Han Shun tied the curtains back, and Li Jian placed a step stool at the carriage entrance. Everyone's motions were smooth and practiced, drawing admiration from the onlookers. A corner of apricot orange fabric appeared at the carriage entrance. Jiao Qinzhong was wearing the apricot-colored robes that only the crown prince could wear, with a guan made of gold filigree and jade on his head. He alighted from the carriage in a dignified, regal manner. Xiao Qinzhong did not immediately acknowledge the people bowing before him. He turned instead to the carriage and extended a hand to help his consort down. Lo Jing had not taken any analgesics. What kind of word is that? for his return home. The Lo family already knew that he was injured, so it was pointless to pretend that he wasn't in front of them. Lo Jing intended to let his father lie in the bed that he made. The new son-in-law was the crown prince, so the bride's family still had to kneel and kowtow to welcoming him, even though they were technically family now. The crown prince had the prerogative to do away with the requirement if he so wished. The Angogong was hoping for this, but it appeared that the crown prince had no intention of doing so. Once Lao Jing had gotten off the carriage, Lao Jianyu hurriedly led his family in kowtowing to the royal couple. Chen Lu Jianyu and his family welcomed the crown prince consort back home. May the crown prince live for 1,000 years, he said. You may rise, the crown prince said. He was still supporting his consort and did not seem to have any intention of moving forward to help his in-laws to rise. Lo Jing stood next to the crown prince, watching his father kowtow to him. It was strangely satisfying. I bet it was. On the day of the bride's return home, custom dictated that the bride's family had to invite guests of appropriate standing to attend. The crown prince was of such a high status that the Angogong's family members were not enough, and the Angogong had to invite other noble families to which they were related by marriage to make up the guest list. The guests were divided into 2 tables of men and women. The men were stationed in the courtyard to entertain the new groom, and the women were usually gathered in the residence to talk to the bride. However, Lo Jing was a man and the bride, so he unfortunately belonged at neither table. After paying his respects to his elders, Lo Jing excused himself on the basis that he was not feeling well, and went back to Zulki Hall, so his old home, that's where he lived. Lo Jianyu was only too happy to see him go. If Lo Jing stayed, there was no telling what untoward things might happen. He turned to smile at the crown prince, then led him into the main hall to have a cup of tea before the banquet began. Shizi, you're back! The Zukyo Hall servants were still the same people from before, and they welcomed him back in high spirits. They looked him up and down to make sure that he was still in one piece, pleased to see that he seemed to be doing well. Call Mr. Jing here, Lo Jing said to Giao Yi, sitting down in the main hall. Mr. Jing was his accountant. He gave this instructions even before he had drunk a sip of tea. Zokia Hall maintained its own accounts. Lo Jing's accountant, Qin Jiru, was in truth one of the what is words? They just immediately get there like, bring me my accountant. Mr. Chen was his accountant. Is one of his strategic advisors. He was a failed scholar, having done badly in the imperial exams, but he was a dab hand at accountancy and strategic thinking. Shizi, young master Jimin sent a message this morning, Yuba said, appearing as if out of nowhere. He offered a folded piece of paper to Lo Jing. Lo Jing opened the folded note. The elegant, refined strip was definitely Zhao Yi's. There was only 2 cryptic sentences written on it. Hello, A Yang! Welcome in! There's only 2 sentences working. Oh my god, where were we? Okay. On the 9th day of the 9th month, your wish will come true. I've taken some compensation. Don't be alarmed. Compensation? Lo Jing's forehead twitched. Which of my possessions has he made off with? I think that's one of his friends, the Zhao Shi. I think that's his little friend that like jumped the fence to come talk to him. The jade brush washer on Ziyi's table, Yuba said tonelessly. Young Master Jiming said that Shizi forgot to set his compensation, so he's taken the liberty of deciding it himself. Jiaoxi, you little brat, Lao Jing exclaimed helplessly. His jade brush washer was made from a whole piece of green jade by a master jade carver, and the base was a beautifully carved image of a fish in a lotus pond. When one filled it with water, it looked like a real pond with lily pads floating and fish swimming in it. That fellow, Xiao Shi, had been eyeing it for quite some time now. Lo Jing smiled to himself as he burned the note in the incense burner, then picked up his tea and took a sip. A scholarly-looking man in green robes, who just looked to be about 40 years old, walked in, his arms full of account books. Shizi, you're back, he said. Mr. Chen, have a seat, Lo Jing said, gesturing for him to sit down. Has anything of note happened in the residence lately? Yeah, for you guys just joining in, Lo Jing, and his now husband, the crown prince, took a trip to his home because on the 3rd day it's customary for brides to return to their family with their new husband, like for a visit. So he's back home, and so he went to his quarters, and he's just like, okay, bring me my count book. Because he's just checking, making sure all of his stuff is still there and it didn't get stolen by his dad. And like setting up, checking his messages and stuff like that, pretty much. Mr. Ching, have a seat, Lo Jing said, gesturing for him to sit down. Has anything of note happened in my residence lately? Your stepmother asked me for 2 account books, but I fobbed her off, Qin Shiru replied. He then sighed. Xinqiang Hall had always been responsible for its own expenses. Not a single penny had come out of the main residence accounts. The assets that Lo Jing privately held were only recorded in the Zuquin Hall accounts, and it was unsurprising that in the moment Lo Jing had married out of the Lo family, his stepmother couldn't wait to get her hands on the finances as well. She certainly is impatient, Lo Jing said with a cold smile. Qing Zhuzhul placed the account books he was carrying on the table. These are the accounts for your mother's dowry. You left in too much of a hurry to bring these along. I'll get people to pack up the valuable things in your storeroom and send them over to the Eastern Palace shortly. Yeah, stepmother tried to steal things. Ooh, I'm getting hearts. Thank you. That's so nice. Oh, the hearts. Whee. Yeah, he needs to pack up his stuff and take it home. To his new home. But would it be safe at the palace? It might be safer at the palace than here, but... Before his stepmother married into the Lao family, he had preemptively taken the account books concerning his mother's dowry out to manage personally. He kept the pearls, jewels, and silver ingots that belonged to his mother safely locked in the storeroom, and collected the income from the farms and shops under his mother's name, under the Zhulkul Hall's accounts. Zhou Jing looked down at the account books, tapped the topmost book with 2 fingers, then pushed the stack back to Qing Zhuzhul. No, leave the things here. Make 2 copies of these accounts. Keep one yourself and send the second to the Eastern Palace. If the Furin wants Zhongqian Hall's account, give her the original set. Your intention is... Qing Zhuzhul subconsciously sat straighter in his seat. She wants to settle the accounts, right? Okay. The word used here at both asterisks is Xian which has two meanings in Chinese. One is a literal meaning in finance. Uh, Example, to check through the balance, the accounts, and the other is to settle the score, meaning that Lo Jing intends to get his revenge. Lo Jing supported his head with his thumb and tapped his forehead with the middle finger. His lips curved into a mysterious smile. Then let's settle the score properly with her. Oh, he's plotting something for his greedy mother-in-law. Do 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 do. Alrighty. Chapter 12. Well, we've only been streaming for an hour and a half, so I think we could do one more chapter because this is fun. He just got back to his family home, so let's see how the emperor or the emperor, oh my god, the prince is gonna make his family-in-law pay for being mean to his new bride. I do, however, need to take a quick bathroom break. So this is going to be a good moment for you guys to just get up, stretch, take your medicine, go to the bathroom, pet a kitty, and I'll be back in just like a couple of minutes. So, like, literally, like, under 5 minutes. So, I will see you guys in a minute, okay? And we'll see what what can not come up as these guys get, cause he. Okay, I'm back. Do. Did everybody get like a little stretch in? Go get a drink. There we go. That's better. Bum 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 bum. Bahaha. Peridot, you okay there? We didn't end yet. We're still going. There we go. Alright, let's get one more chapter in. I'm good. Yay! I just had to take a quick little break. Okay, I accidentally pulled the the microphone cord out there. Okay, is it still working okay? Okay, it says it is on my end. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, we're doing one more chapter today, so that means we broke our record and we're doing 4 chapters. Wahaha. But it's good. It's like getting good right now. Okay. The Submissive Emperor, Chapter 12, Family Assets. Lo Jing was the eldest legitimate son of the Lao family, and when Lao Jianyul married him off, he was supposed to get a share of the family assets over and above the 40,000 taels of silver in his dowry. I will manage the other accounts carefully, his accountant said, understanding Lao Jing's intention. He picked up the account books in his arms again. Oh, one more thing. Jiogong Yi sent people to Jinzhou yesterday. Lo Jing's eyes flashed coldly, but a smile remained on his face. He can do as he will. He won't be able to get a single cent without presenting my token of authentication. So, his stepmom wants the account books so that she can get her little claws into Lo Jing's money that is his while he's gone. And his dad sent people out to where he has like shops and stuff that he inherited from either his grandfather or his mom, because they were trying to get money from them too, or be able to sell them or whatever, because they're greedy. Chen Ji Ural left, and Lo Jing summoned Gao Yi again. Have we received the reply from Ling Ning yet? He asked. Yes, I was just about to tell you, Gao Yi said, pulling out a letter from the folds of his clothes. Ah! No, don't move on me, come back. Xiao Yi asks you to be patient and remain calm. Lo Jing took the thick envelope from Gao Yi. This letter had been sent using people who were specifically trained to transmit messages quickly. It had only taken half a month to get a reply, even though there were thousands of li between him and Ling Nang. This is a Chinese unit of measurement for distance. 1 li is now taken to be about 500 meters. Though the distance it represents has varied considerably throughout history. So a long way away, and they got it very fast. He treated this letter with utmost importance, not just because of the strenuous efforts that had been expended to get this letter to him at great speed, but also because the person who sent the letter was his eldest maternal uncle, the Pingyang Hao. The Pingyang Hao and the Ungugong were similar in that they were both military peerages that had produced mighty generals over the generation. Lingnan was fraught with turmoil in recent years, and the Pingyang Yao had been sent there to quell the unrest. Lo Jing's maternal uncles and the families had all gone along to Yingning as well, and he had not seen them in a long time, though they did send each other letters every 2 to 3 months or so. When Lo Jing had been mistreated by his father before the wedding, there wasn't much he could do without seeming like an unfilial son, so he had no choice but to ask his Juju for help. Juju is how you would address your mother's brother. So, uncle. Maternal uncle. He was just like, Uncle! Uncle, help! Lo Jing broke the seal on the letter and opened it to read. After reading it carefully 3 times over, he exhaled in one long breath, smiled, and kept the letter in the folds of his clothes. His uncle's letter could be summarized in 3 points. First, your eldest Jojo is furious. Second, your other Jujus are also furious. Third, the eldest and second Juju will reach the capital very shortly. So both of his, all of his uncles, his maternal uncles, his mom's brothers, are very mad at how his dad treated him and beaten him up and everything. They are very mad, and 2 of them are coming very fast to come help in person. So yes, I'm glad he has family members he can actually trust, because his father is an asshole and his mother-in-law cares nothing about him, absolutely hates him. And his actual mother passed away when he was younger, and his grandfather, who practically raised him, passed away as well within a few years. So I'm glad that he has some family members that care for him, are there to fight. Get his ass. Yes, exactly. Let's hope he gets his comeuppance very quickly. In the front hall of the main residence, Lao Jingyul, Lo Jing's father, was smiling as he introduced Xiao Qinzhong to his relatives. Look, my son-in-law is the prince. This is Xiao Yu's eldest maternal uncle, the Yongjingbo, Lao Jianyu said, gesturing towards the Yongjingbo Weiyang. A bo is another type of peerage, lower than the gong and the whole peerages. This is roughly the equivalent to a viscount. I think Xiao Yu's. Oh, that's his mom-in-law. Wei Yang immediately smiled and came forward. This humble official, Wei Yang, greets the crown prince, he said. Xiao Qinzhong looked at the Yongjingbo. I was under the impression that my consort's maternal relatives were the Pingjiangqiu family, not the Yongningbo family, he said. Yes, just rub it in, buddy. He's like, Listen, my hubby explained all this to me last night. I know. The Yongenbo's face immediately turned red as a tomato. Lo Jianyu also nearly choked on his own saliva. The Pingjiangqiu indeed were Lo Jing's true maternal relatives, and the Yongenbo was his stepmother's relatives. It was not actually appropriate for Lo Jiong to have introduced the Yongenbo as Lo Jing's maternal relatives, but what else could he do now? So he was not appropriate for him to be like, yeah, this is his relatives, when in fact they are not. They assume I understand what a viscount even is. Viscount Druid from Black Butler. There we go. It's some form of nobility. It's like, I think a viscount is like under a duke, maybe an earl. I don't know. We'll have to look at the thing one day. Oh, Hylia! Hello! Welcome in! Hey, I am definitely not late. You made it. That's all that matters. Um, yeah. Is that, um, quick summary. Uh, Lo Jing and the Crown Prince have gone to Lo Jing's family because it's the third day of their marriage because they're supposed to go visit the relatives. And, his his stepmother wants to get into his accounts and steal his money, and his dad's being a jerk here, going, "Oh yeah, here's Lo Jing's maternal uncles," when in fact they are not related to him at all. So it's his stepmother's family. So I mean, yeah, but he's just a goofball with money. He is. He is. I don't know if that counts, but that's the only Viscount I can think of. In all history, that's the only Viscount that comes to my mind. The words had already been said, and it would be incredibly embarrassing for him to now backtrack and say that the Yongying Bo was actually the elder brother of Lo Jing's stepmother. Lo Jiangyu's younger brother, Lao Jiangxiang, hurriedly came forward to try and defuse this awkward situation. Jianxia, the Yongying Bo is the current Furin's elder brother, and the Pingyang Zhouyo are the first Furin's relatives. The Crown Prince didn't respond to this. He sipped lingily at his tea, and the atmosphere continued in its original awkward state. He's like, I know what I'm doing. Yes. Yes. Even though he is Lo Jing's stepmother's brother, he is still considered Lo Jing's maternal uncle, right? No. Lo Jing's third uncle, Liao Jian supplied, trying to be helpful as well. The slight smile that had begun to form on Lao Jiang's face when Lao Jiuzheng spoke disappeared immediately when Lao Jianying piped up. He nearly died of embarrassment right then and there. The Yongying Bo's face, I know, it's a lot of names thrown at you at once, guys. Just bear with me. Had taken on the color of a pig's liver. His ancestors had fought alongside the Taizu Emperor at the founding of the dynasty, but had not made any outstanding contributions, and as such they only received a Bo peerage. In later generations, the Yongying Bo family rarely produced any great generals, and its standing among the nobility had fallen greatly over the years. It had only recently recovered somewhat, after his sister had married into the prestigious Engelgong's family as a second wife. Does that make Ciel a duke? Ciel's an earl. Well, we're just gonna have to, like, look up the, peerage charts and stuff. Like, the different rankings. The other nobles who were related to the Angonggong by marriage were all just standing around idly, watching the show. They clearly had no intentions to help alleviate the situation. Those people are smart. The situation at the front hall soon reached the ears of the women gathered in the back hall. The Engelgong Furin, Madame Wei, the stepmother, was so angry that she upset the teacup in her hand. She glared angrily at her third sister-in-law, Lo Jian's wife. Her third sister-in-law shrank back and looked at the second sister-in-law for help. The second sister-in-law pursed her lips and smiled at Madame Wei. Furin, don't be angry. Third uncle, Lu Jian, was probably nervous because it's his first time meeting the Crown Prince. Please be understanding of him, she said placently. Madame Wei's young face was still not good at hiding her emotions. Third uncle's attempt to get on the Crown Prince's good side at the expense of the Lao family's face will only make the Crown Prince look down on him, she said, a hint of annoyance in her voice. How is this at the expense of the Lao family's face? The third sister-in-law was immediately put off by what Madame Wei said. Getting on the crown prince's good side is good for the Lao family's face. You know that, right? Madame Wei's eyes swept over the circle of women. They were all her relatives. The Angugon's relatives, or the senior servants of these relatives. She sniffed haughtily. Shazi has been married off as the crown prince's consort. There will be a new Shazi in this family at some point, and these attempts to curry favor with the crown prince may not be viewed favorably by the new Shazi. She's saying that she may have a son that will become the new heir to the family. Okay, I'm pretty busy. Bye-bye. Okay, Ohilia. Thank you for stopping in. I hope you have a good day. They're just making themselves look bad. They really are. The banquet started at noon. Lao Jing didn't return to the main residence, but had a pleasant meal alone in his hall. He finished his food very quickly because he didn't have to observe any dining etiquette when eating alone. Zolkenhall's affairs had all been set in order, and so it was that Lo Jing found himself with nothing else to do. He decided to go have a look at his storeroom. There were some things he didn't manage to bring with him when he was married off because of how quickly things happened, and also because he couldn't get out of bed without help. Madame Wei had not invited any non-relatives to the banquet. It was inappropriate to do so because of the bride, in this case, was a man. Madame Wei didn't enjoy her food at all. She was too irritated and annoyed to do so. The second sister-in-law made the excuse of going to the bathroom and set a maid to go and see what was happening in the front hall when no one was looking. Okapi Flower, hello! Hello, how are you today? By the way, I am, imagine if they made a bisexual fanfic where the emperor falls in love with a man and woman is served and they get not safe for work parts. Ooh. That's interesting. So the emperor would be in love with a man and a woman. That sounds interesting. Second sister-in-law, where did you disappear to? I had a hard time looking for you, the third sister-in-law said. She was very reliant on the second sister-in-law, and when she saw that the latter had left, she went out to look for her. Like, where'd you go? I'm not going to sit there and suffer Madame Wei's sour face, the second sister-in-law said, flicking her handkerchief disdainfully. Exactly, the third sister-in-law agreed, clenching a handkerchief in her fist. My husband didn't say anything wrong, and this Madame Wei, she's just a second wife, please. Everybody isn't having fun with Madame Wei. She wants to be recognized as Zhouyo's mother, but she conveniently forgot how she treated him in the past. When she just married into the family, she was so busy fighting for power to manage the family's finances that she didn't even remember to order winter clothes for the Shizi, the second sister-in-law said irritably. Second sister-in-law, weren't you the one who recorded that the Shizi's winter clothes were ordered in the account books? The third sister-in-law asked in a low voice. When Lo Jing's mother passed away, the second sister-in-law took on the management of the Angugon's family finances. After Madame Wei married into the family, she had not been happy about handing over the books to her, and she had tried to create some problems for Madame Wei by recording that Shiji's winter clothes had been made when they actually had not been ordered at all. She thought she would get to see Madame Wei's wrong-footed when she had to rush to make the Ziji's clothes. Unexpectedly, that audacious Madame Wei had gone with the flow and actually refused to order winter clothes for Lo Jing, letting him go without. When the old Angugon found out about it, he scolded all three of them soundly. So the old Angugon was actually the grandfather that took care of him. Basically, this second wife is not going to make life easy for us. The earlier our family split the assets and move out, the better. the second sister-in-law said, pursing her lips. You heard what Madame Wei said today. Once she's given birth to a child, it's obvious there won't be a place for us in this household anymore. How about we... The third sister-in-law looked at the second sister-in-law. Let's go back to the Shizi. He and Madame Wei has always had a bad relationship, and the Shizi, at the end of the day, is a child that we watch grow up. We should help our own. The second sister-in-law swished her handkerchief as she thought for a moment, then stamped her foot down decisively. Let's do it. I still have a copy of the accounts from last year. We'll give this to Xiao Yu, and when the time comes for the family assets to be split, he can decide what to do. So they're switching sides. Good. Yeah, it kind of sucks that, I mean, the one that was in charge of the books had wrote down that, the winter clothes had gotten bought, because no winter clothes had been given to him when he was young, and it was cold, and he had no winter clothes. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna write it down in the book so Madame Wei will feel like she has to rush and get the clothes. She didn't. She never got the clothes. She's a lovely mother-in-law. Xiao Qinzhong, the crown prince, sat in the main hall, his expression still as calm as a deep blue sea. When people came to offer him a toast, he only sipped a little in a dignified manner. He was the crown prince, after all, and no one dared to force him to empty his wine cup, even though they themselves had to drink the usual 3 cups in a toast to him. So they're all getting drunk. Even when the banquet was halfway done, the crown prince's face wasn't flushed at all. The guests, on the other hand, were as red as lobsters. Lao Shijong Jianyu excused himself from the banquet, saying that he needed to go and change. He called a servant over. Where's the crown prince consort? He asked. He has been in Sinkyung Hall all this while. He didn't come out, the servant answered promptly. Lao Jiyong nodded. I'll head to Zongking Hall. You watch things over here. If anything happens, come get me immediately, he instructed. Okay, so his dad is coming to visit him now. This is gonna go well. Meanwhile, Lao Jing was happily looking through the shiny valuables in his storeroom. He had no idea that so many people in the main residence were making plans involving him at all. They're over there being like, oh, this person's horrible. Oh, we should be on this person's side. Oh, da da da. And he's over there going, look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Looking at all his shiny and gold. He kills me sometimes. Lo Jing had learned his family's gong fu since he was a little boy. His family's gong fu had an infinite emphasis on the archery, and accordingly, he wasn't particularly attached to any other types of weapons. He recalled that he needed to curry some favor with the Empress in a few daytimes, and so picked out a rare sword of fine make. The sword's name was Scarlet Cloud. Its namesake, the real Scarlet Cloud, was a famous ancient weapon made of bronze. The Scarlet Cloud in Yojing's possession was a replica made 200 years ago by a revered master swordsmith. The sword was a work of art. Its scabbard was carved with a beautifully complex design, inlaid with jewels of 7 colors, and its hilt was decorated with Jonhyo jade. Lao Jing gripped the hilt and slowly pulled out the sword. Its sharp edges gleamed menacingly in the light. Does, Shizi want to pick out another brush washer? Gao Yi yipped, grinning. He knew about, Zhao Yi's theft of Lo Jing's favorite jade green brush washer. Lo Jing looked at the burly, simple-faced man. You're getting cheekier, he said dryly. Gao Yi rubbed his nose. My older brother always says I'm dumb, he said. He always told me to look a bit livelier. Gao Yi's elder brother was Gao Yong. They were actually a pair of twins, but the two were as different as night and day. Gao Yong was much smarter than Gao Yi, and was the person Lo Jing trusted to guard the country estate he owned outside the capital. That was where his shadow guards lived and trained. To him, ensuring that the country estate was well maintained was far more important than the happenings here in the Angu Gong residence. So he had the shadow guards. I think are like the 13 highly trained, like pretty much ninjas that his grandpa left him. Lo Jing didn't reply to Gao Yi. He walked over to a shelf where he remembered storing a brush washer made by the same jade carver who carved the stolen brush washer. The one stored in his storeroom was actually better than the one Xiao Yi had made off with. But that was also precisely why he didn't have the heart to use it. He thought it would make a good gift for Jiao Jinzhong. Aw, he's like, it's so better, it's so good, I don't want to use it, but I will gift it to my hubby. As he picked up the green jade brush washer, he had the sudden thought that he should bring the crown prince to visit his country estate. Since they had agreed to work together, he should show Xiao Xinzhong some of his trump cards, or he might just take him as a simple consort without more. Reporting to the Crown Prince consort, the young Gugan has entered Zakuo Hall, Li Xian said. What was he here for? Lo Jing raised his eyebrows, handing the two things he picked out to Li Xian, and went to the main hall of Zakuo Hall. You've only been gone 2 days, but I see your injuries are much better. They've healed quickly, Lo Jianyu said. He noticed that Lo Jing's movements looked natural, and he was secretly surprised. Lo Jing was surprised himself. He had not realized earlier that he was indeed able to walk easily on his own, until Lo Jingyu mentioned it. The medicine had really worked like a charm. Thanks to you, I managed to escape becoming a cripple, he said sarcastically. What do you mean by that? Lo Jingyong flared up immediately. I am your father. You mean to say that I have no right to discipline my own son? Father, you shouldn't be asking me this question. You already had me beaten. How can it be that you don't know the answer? Lo Jing said. He sat down and drank some tea in a leisurely manner. Lo Jingyong was about to have a fit. He was so angry that he nearly forgot what he originally came here to do. He took 2 deep breaths and collected himself. You've married out of the Lao family. The assets your grandfather left you in Jinyang should be given back to us. Ask Qin Jiru to prepare the accounts. I'll be asking him to settle the accounts on the 18th of this month. He wants him to hand over what his grandfather left him. He's like, oh, you married out of the family. You don't deserve what your grandfather left to you. Bitch. Lo Jing smiled faintly when he heard this. He put down his teacup and looked straight at his father. The country estate and the commercial property in Jingyang belonged to me. Grandfather made it very clear that they were my personal assets when he gave them to me a few years ago. My name is clearly written on all the title deeds. You bastard! Lo Jiyong slammed a fist onto the table. The Lao family has done business in Jiyang for generations. You can't be telling me that things in your name are... You can't be telling me that the things in your name are all there is. In the 3rd year of the Qingyang's emperor's reign, the Tartars invaded Jinyang. The supplies from the capital were all intercepted, and grandfather sold off a number of family holdings to feed and maintain the troops in Jinyang, Lo Jing said. He still wore a breezy smile on his face, and his tone was warm and pleasant. If you don't believe me, you can go and ask around in Jiyang. Even the peasants there know about this. You... Lo Jing jumped up in anger. Those are obviously the Lo family's generational assets. The head of the family is me, and those assets are mine. You unfilial creature. How dare you say those generational assets are your personal assets? With that, he raised a hand and made to slap Lo Jing's face. Oh, he's about to hit his son. Uh-oh. Okay, we have finished chapter 12. Oh, we got 4 chapters in today. We're making pretty good progress. The chapters aren't too awful long, but the drama came this episode. All the drama. Now he's about to hit him. Oh no. Alrighty. Oh. Boop. Boop. There we go. So, we'll be reading chapter 13 next time we stream. And it is called Obstructing the Carriage. Husband better step in. Husband's still in the main building, though. That's the thing. He's still in the main building, like, being, like, talking, everybody's sucking up to him in the main building. So, I don't remember what happens. He better not freaking hit his son, okay? He like, had him beaten enough that even, like, 2 weeks later, he's still, like, all beaten up. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. But that was a good episode. Oh my god. Oh gosh. My brain has officially clocked out for the day. Yeah, somebody better step in, or he better stop it himself, because he has no right to hit him. Even more so that he's like the crown prince's consort now. He's higher ranked than him. Even if it is his father, he's higher ranked than him. They're just greedy little bastards. They want it. They're like, oh yeah, all the stuff that your grandfather gave you, yeah, that should be ours. It shouldn't be yours. So give it back. Oh my god. All right. I hope everybody has a great day. I will possibly put a poll up again next week to see what everybody wants, because we could continue this, or we could probably jump in and play Sally Face. It depends. But alright, all my chickadees, I will see you next time. Make sure you have a good day. Drink plenty of water, especially if you are experiencing extreme heat like it is in my corner of the world.